This week, the HPT crowns a new champion from the Soaring Eagle Casino Resort. Almost 500 players built a prize pool worth over $660,000. We started the final stretch to a championship with the 9 elite players who were able to navigate through this competitive field. This week, we continue with 6. One of these players is 5 eliminations away from being HPT's newest champion and take home over $150,000.
This is the HPT.
Sit right down, put on your poker face, you with the big dogs now. Better bring your best game, talk trash all you want. To me it's all the same, you won't leave with much when you come in second place. And I'm the one with the stack, showing 7 to the jack. On cry to your mama, cause I'm sending you back. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. Last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand.
Hello and welcome again to the HPT, where this week we crown a champion from Michigan's #1 hotspot, the Soaring Eagle Casino Resort in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. By my side is the beautiful and classy professional poker player, Maria Ho. And Maria, this final table is exactly what we thought it would be.
It has no doubt been packed with drama and high-pressure situations. As always, we started our final table with 9 players, and this week we continue to play down to our newest champion with 6 players remaining. Among them is 2009 WSOP main event champion Joe Catta. He continues tonight 3rd in chips, and he's been playing a great game despite losing some all-ins early on.
The gentleman who started this final table as the chip leader continues to run well and play well. Tom Medina continues his quest to become our newest champion with 65 big blinds in his stack. There's still a lot of poker to be played, but Maria, it's got to feel good to be the dominant chip leader at this stage of the tournament.
Oh, most definitely. Being a big stack 6-handed at the final table gives you more opportunities to win hands. Being able to knock out anyone who gets involved in a hand with you gives Tom a huge advantage. But watch out for Joe Catta. A player like Joe isn't thinking of just laddering up the money. He's playing to win, and anything short of first place just isn't good enough.
My favorite at this final table is still Adam Bacon. He continues this week 2nd in chips, and his last name makes everything delicious. Let's take a look at what everybody is playing for, check out the chip counts, and get right to the action.
The winner of this event is going to take home 6 figures, and everybody right now is guaranteed at least $25,000 for their efforts here today.
Good payday for everybody left at this final table. Maria, update us on the chip counts.
Well, Tom Medina has been holding on to the top spot this entire time, and he's starting to pull away now. He has just over $5 million, and his nearest competitor, Adam Bacon, is comfortable at $2.7 million, and Penelope is our short stack with just 12 big blinds. She's gonna need a late push here in the game just to get back on top.
Blind starting this week's final table as we continue to a champion at $40,000 and $80,000 with a $10,000 chip ante. Rudy Ballard is next. He folds over to Penelope, the short stack Maria was just talking about.
175.
She's gonna open, makes it $175,000 to go with Big Slick.
She's got a huge hand for her stack here, and she's hoping that she's going to get some kind of action. Adam looks down at Ace Jack, so Penelope's going to get some action. We just don't know how much.
Joe. Oh, I'm talking to you, sorry.
And Adam is asking Joe Catta in the 9th seed how many chips he has. Maria, is Mr. Bacon thinking of going all in here with Ace Jack, and he's just trying to size up where he's at with everybody?
Yeah, I think Adam's considering all of his options. I think he knows that he just has Joe to act behind him, so he's seeing if he should go all in here and put both Joe and Penelope all in if they choose to call, or if he's just going to raise, or maybe just even call Penelope's raise.
He chooses the raise option, makes it $350,000 to go. Joe quickly folds. We are back to the original raiser of Penelope.
And I see Penelope moving all her chips in here.
That's exactly what she does. Adam makes the snap call. And Adam's going to find out he is crushed going to the flop. Only 3 outs can help him here.
Adam did exactly what he should with his hand and in this specific situation, but unfortunately Penelope happens to have him dominated.
Never count out Bacon, though.
And an all-in over here for Penelope.
Here comes the flop.
And the flop is 3, 4, 10, all diamonds. Penelope has flopped the nut flush. Adam's not going to be able to win this hand, and oh, Penelope's reaction is just so precious. She knows she's got that double up.
The turn and the river are insignificant. Adam Bacon is going to double up Penelope, and that's a much-needed double up. She just went from 12 big blinds to almost 30 big blinds.
And who would want to knock out such a sweet lady? Look at her.
You got that right. She's one of the best, no doubt about it. More poker from the Soaring Eagle Casino Resort here in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, when we come back.
Welcome back to the HPT. It's time to get back to final table action. Maria and Fred, we'll send it over to you.
Thanks, James. And as you can see, Tom Medina still has the chip lead here. Joe, Rudy, and Patrick, though, are all under 20 big blinds, kind of getting to that danger zone.
Watch out for Joe Catta, though, Maria. His experience and professional resume, he's like a caged lion right now. You back him into a corner, he's going to come out swinging. And Joe, in my opinion, definitely the lion at this final table. Blinds continuing at 40, 80, 10. Action started with Penelope, and it's been folded around. Back to Joe. He peels back ace 10.
It's definitely going to come in for an open here on the button with that hand.
You are correct. He makes it 160,000 to go. Patrick's going to fold. This is Rudy Ballard. Rudy and Joe have locked horns a lot at this final table.
And with deuces here, I definitely see Rudy playing this hand, and he's going to go all in with his short stack. I like this play. Joe's been very active. Rudy definitely has more than enough fold equity in this spot, and if he could get Joe to fold, he's picking up a lot of chips in the process without having to show down.
1.215 million is the price for Joe Catta to see the community cards.
And this is for the majority of Joe's chips. He only has a little bit more than Rudy coming into this hand, so it's definitely a very, very close situation for him.
Maria, you're in this spot. What do? You make the call or you lay it down?
I do call, and Joe does call, but you don't love it, but you can't really do much else. He's on the button. Rudy's in the big blind. Joe has a bigger hand than most opens would have on the button, so it's kind of a standard spot.
Well, Joe sees that he is slightly behind, statistically a favorite, though. The flop comes 10, 3, 7 with 2 clubs.
And Joe's going to pair his 10 for top pair, putting Rudy in really rough shape now for his tournament life.
Rudy looking for one of the 2 deuces left in the deck here. Here comes the turn.
Turn is the 6 of spades. No help to Rudy. He's going to look for a deuce and only a deuce on the river in order to double up.
The river is a queen of clubs, and that is going to do it for Rudy Ballard. He and Joe Catta have locked horns a lot at this final table. The final blow goes to Mr. Catta as Rudy leaves us in 6th place. Let's hear what he has to say.
It was an experience, but I thought I did all right. I did get lucky, however. He had the hand that I thought he had. I figured I was ahead. The blinds were getting big. I figured I had to make a move sometime, so.
Thank you, Mr. Ballard. As we continue now, 5-handed, 40 and 80,000 with a 10K ante is still the level. Action will start with Adam Bacon.
And now the table's getting much more shorthanded. I would like to see all the players open up their game a bit. And honestly, I've been very impressed with the play so far at this final table. So I'm looking forward to some good things now that play's shorthanded.
We are seeing some high-level poker being played here. Patrick Steele wakes up with pocket queens.
And Patrick's somewhat on the short stack here, and he's definitely going to open here looking for some action.
Makes it 175,000. Penelope quickly folds. This is Tom Medina. He's got a dog of a hand. Get it? K9. Huh?
Yeah, Fred, you're just so clever.
Thank you.
How much do you have?
I honestly thought he would have folded by now. I guess not.
Yeah, I think he's sizing up the stacks, and he sees that Patrick's kind of short, and maybe he thinks he's trying to get in there with a speculative marginal hand.
All in.
Call.
And he just didn't trust that Patrick was opening the short stack with a good hand, and he gets an insta-call from Patrick after going all in, and now Tom is going to have to hit a king in order to knock out Patrick.
Well, you can't really blame Tom for going for the kill here, can you? I mean, he's a huge chip leader.
No, absolutely not. And I said I want to see these players get more aggressive, so there you go.
Flop comes Jack, Jack 5. No help for Tom. He's hoping to find a king on the turn or the river to knock Patrick out. Otherwise, Patrick is going to win a huge pot worth almost $3 million in chips.
The turn is a 2 of hearts. Still no help for Tom. Patrick's looking in good shape to double up now.
Patrick needs to fade the king on the river.
Let's go ahead and see.
And he is going to fade the river as it pairs the deuce. And I don't mind what Tom did there. Patrick could have had just as many hands that he opened that he would have folded, but unfortunately, he actually had a monster.
And Patrick goes from one of the names on the bottom of the chip count to one of the names towards the top of the chip count, just like that. This is Tom Medina. He wakes up with pocket eights as it's folded around to him. He's going to open for $175,000. Over to my favorite player at the table, Adam Bacon. Love Bacon. He folds over to Joe. Joe's been one of the best ambassadors for the game in the modern era of World Series champions, in my opinion. Broke Phil Hellmuth's almost 20-year record of being the youngest main event champion. Of course, Joe only held that for a year after Peter Eastgate won the following year.
And I feel like Joe's thinking about doing something here. He saw that Tom got out of line just a bit ago, and I think maybe he's thinking of putting in a 3-bet here.
Joe is going to re-raise it as you speculated, Maria. It makes it $460,000. Action now on Patrick.
And I'm not quite sure what Patrick is doing, taking so long after looking down at ace-6. I think it's a pretty easy fold. We haven't seen Joe put in too many 3-bets here.
Back over to Tom now, and Tom is going to make the call.
With Tom holding pocket eights and Joe having the betting lead in this hand, I think it's going to be fairly difficult for Tom to maneuver post-flop if it comes all high cards.
The flop comes Jack 9 Jack Rainbow. Joe outflops Tom here, and he's going to check it over.
Tom checks. Let's go ahead and see the turn card.
Tom checks behind. The turn comes a 4 of clubs, and Joe's reaching for chips. He's done checking.
I think Joe has decided that his hand might be good now, and he's going to go ahead and get some value out of it.
And he is going to fire, makes it $475,000.
And I see Tom calling here. The board is not that dangerous for his hand, but I think that Tom knows if he calls here, he's probably going to have to call most rivers.
Tom weighing his options here as he faces a $475,000 chip bet. And once again, Maria, you are correct. He is going to make the call. Big pot, $2 million in chips, waiting for somebody. The river is a 5 of spades. Joe has the best hand. Only way he can lose is if Tom can push him off.
He's very certain, it seems, that he has the best hand. And that 5 doesn't really change anything for Tom, so I don't expect him to do anything other than look Joe up here with a call.
And the call has been made.
Joe is going to show his 9 and the winning hand, and Tom is going to have to reluctantly throw his cards to the muck. And $3.2 million in chips are going to, my opinion, the most dangerous player at the table.
Still a lot of great players left and a lot more poker to be played. Come back for more.
My name is Ken Russia, and I kind of retired. I really don't do anything except play poker and have fun, and the HPT is my game and my time and my fun. 2011, I made 2 final tables in that year. I made first final table, I got 6th place. I went in with King 9. The boy behind me had a pair of kings and took me down. And then the final table I won that one. I got 1st place. When you win a championship, it's like I said a little earlier, on the way home, I'm sitting in the car about 5 miles out of Tama, Iowa. I'm going, damn, Karen, I won that thing. And there's 248 people that want to be where I'm sitting. I'm number 1 today. And it means something, and it does. And a lot of my people back home, it's been 2 years, and they're still saying, congratulations, you won the big tournament. How can you do this, and how can I do that? And I say, all you got to do is go in there and play, and if you're good enough, you'll get there.
Thank you so much, Ken. One of the greatest people we see on our tour. Here is the updated chip count.
And for the first time all final table, we see that Tom Medina has finally fallen from the top spot, and it has been a long, hard fall, as now he is our short stack. And it's no surprise that it is Joe Cata, the former WSOP champion, that has taken over the chip lead here.
Just under 60 big blinds in Joe's stack. Not that long ago, he had under 20 big blinds. Shows you how quickly momentum can change in a no-limit hold'em tournament. Action in this hand starts with my favorite breakfast meat, Adam Bacon. He is going to fold. Action moves over to Joe Cata.
He looks down at Queen Jack offsuit, and he's going to go ahead and come in for a raise. Makes it $175,000 to go.
You know, Maria, as a poker fan, I think this is awesome to watch. We saw Joe nurse a short stack. Now we get to see the former champion play the big stack. Should be very interesting. Look at this. Penelope wakes up with pocket aces.
Oh, Lady Penelope, she's going to come in strong here. She has a huge hand. She's going to re-raise it to $350,000. I really like her sizing. She's just trying to reel Joe in with that small 3-bet size.
Joe makes the call very quickly. So Penelope heads up against the former champ, and what a flop. 3-6 ace. Penelope has flopped top set, and she wisely checks.
Oh, look at Penelope. I was going to say this might hurt her action a bit, but not if she checks it over to Joe, who's no doubt going to take a stab at the pot now.
You are right. He bets $400,000. Just smooth call, Penelope. Just smooth call. Maria, I got to think a player like Penelope against a player like Joe, if she check calls, Joe has to put her on an ace.
There's definitely going to be some alarm bells going off in Joe's head, but he might think that she has something like jacks, and now she's just afraid of the ace on board. So Joe might put more chips in here trying to get her off her hand, but little does he know, she's got 3 aces.
The turn comes an 8 of clubs. Luckily for Mr. Cata, that doesn't pair him. He is going to slow down, checks behind.
And Joe's not going to try to fire a second bullet here, so I think he smells something in the air.
The river is a deuce of clubs.
And now I see Penelope leading out. I think she realizes that she's gotten Joe to do all the betting he's going to do for her, and now it's time for her to get more value from her hand.
She bets $400,000, and Joe says, no, ma'am. I saw that one coming down the tracks. He's going to lay it down, and Penelope's going to scoop a little over $2 million in chips. Blinds are moving up. They're now 50 and 100,000 with a 10,000 chip ante. Action starts with Mr. Cata. He folds over to Patrick Steele. Ace King. The worst hand in poker, in my opinion. I have lost more money with Ace King than I have with pocket deuces.
You make so much sense here. You hate Ace King, but you love King Queen. I like it.
You just need to step off is what you need to do. It's Queen 9 for Adam Bacon.
Who could resist Bacon?
Especially this Bacon. He's one of the nicest guys at the table. And he's going to go all in with Queen 9.
And Patrick beats him into the pot, and Adam's face is very sheepish at the moment.
Well, Adam does have 2 live cards. He also has hearts, but he is going to need to get lucky here. The flop comes King at 6-8, all diamonds. It is getting worse for Adam.
Adam's going to need running cards, and he doesn't have a whole lot of outs as Patrick has the ace of diamonds in his hand.
Adam already stepping up from the table. The turn is a 7 of diamonds, and that's going to seal the deal. Patrick hits the nut flush on the turn, and unfortunately for me and my co-host, we have to say goodbye to Adam Bacon.
Yes, I think I played all right. I mean, took a couple spots that didn't work out, but happened. Of the 4 players left, I think Joe's obviously got a nice chip lead right now, and Pat's been, I mean, I played with him before, and don't count out Tom. I mean, he's good, as good as all of them.
We're down to our final 4 players here at the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. After this quick commercial break, we'll be back with more final table action. You're watching the HPT. And welcome back to the HPT here from beautiful, picturesque Mount Pleasant, Michigan, and the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. We've got 4 players left. Let's get inside to the action, and Maria and Fred.
Thanks, James. And as you could see, Joe Cata still holding on to the chip lead with $5.3 million. We got Patrick and Penelope in the 2nd and 3rd spot, and Tom Medina, our former chip leader, is still on the short stack with 16 big blinds.
Tom Medina held the chip lead most of this final table and now sits at the bottom. Shows you how quickly fortunes can change in a no-limit Texas Hold'em tournament.
Yeah, but I feel like Tom Medina's played well throughout, and I can see him bouncing back.
I think everybody at this final table has played a great game so far.
Absolutely, and look at Patrick here opening from the small blind with 5-3 offsuit. It's a little bit wide, but they are in the blinds. Penelope's going to call with king 10 off.
And I think if Penelope wakes up with rag, she easily folds that hand. Flop comes 9-5 queen rainbow. Patrick has outflopped Penelope, and he checks over to her.
I like that Patrick's checking over to her, actually, because this flop smashes a lot of Penelope's calling range pre-flop. So he's going to just pot control and check call here.
Call has been made by Pat. 3-5-0. Ship them out.
On to the turn we go. It is a jack of diamonds.
And now Penelope was betting on the come, and she hits her gut shot straight draw. And look at her. She just loves the old check. She just likes to reel these people in.
The river brings a king of hearts, and she's getting exactly what she hoped for by checking the turn there. Patrick leading out on the river.
And Penelope's just going to call, which is the right thing to do because I don't think she's going to get value from worse hands, and she thinks she might be even chopping with Patrick. But Patrick's going to just quickly muck his hand here. And Penelope's going to win this pot.
Penelope played that hand like a pro, I think. Got the most value out of it, and she's going to scoop a nice-sized pot. Action continues. We're still at 50, 100 with a 10K. And we will start with Miss Penelope.
She looks down at king 8 and she folds. I think this is where I would like to see Penelope open with that hand. They're four-handed, remember, so what was under the gun now becomes the cutoff.
Joe Cata playing my favorite hand, king queen. I affectionately call it mom and dad. He makes it 250,000 to go, and Patrick's going to call with pocket deuces.
And the flop is 5 king deuce, and they both have a piece, but Patrick flopped a set on Joe's top pair.
This could get bloody. Joe bets out 300,000. Patrick going for the Oscar right now. Sitting in the tank. Ho hum, I guess I'll just call.
And I think Patrick decides that it's probably best to slow play. It's very likely that Joe could have complete air and is just c-betting, so I think he's just going to wait till the turn.
Oh, it gets worse for Joe now. A queen comes on the turn, giving him top 2 pair. In a four-handed game, Maria, that's just a monster. Joe fires again. This time it's 700,000, and what a perfect storm here for Patrick. You got the former main event champ firing into you on every street, and you're sitting on a set.
And I think now is the time that Patrick decides he's going to put in a raise here. And I think Joe's just going to go all in.
1 million. On.
Ooh.
You are exactly right. Joe goes all in. Patrick makes the quick call. And Joe's going to see he just ran into a cooler here. But it's not over yet. A king or a queen on the river could really ruin Patrick's day.
1.7
And this is just such an unfortunate situation. Top 2, bottom set, four-handed.
It's ugly.
It's not pretty.
Pat, he shows pocket deuces.
And the river is the 3 of spades, and Joe's not going to river Patrick in this pot, and he's going to lose a huge chunk of his chips.
Not much Joe could do there. Even a seasoned pro like him, you got top 2 in a four-handed game.
No getting away from it.
What are you going to do? Action continues at 50 and 100 with a 10K ante, and we will start with Miss Penelope. She's got 4-7 of hearts, and that goes where it belongs.
Hold on.
Tom Medina goes all in with ace-9 of hearts, and a quick call from Joe with ace-7, and you can see on Joe's face, he's just dejected right now.
As this is a very standard situation, blind versus blind, but he's going to find himself dominated.
And the flop is 8-5-10 with 2 hearts.
And that is just such a bleak looking flop for Joe. He has less outs now, as the 7 of hearts is not going to help him because Tom has the flush draw to go with his bigger ace.
The turn comes as 6, so Joe does pick up a draw.
He's open-ended, but it still can't be a heart on the river.
Joe's looking to get lucky on the river. Otherwise, he is going to go from chip leader to out the door in just a few hands.
And the river is the jack of diamonds, and Joe is not going to do it, and he is going to be eliminated in 4th place after just starting this series of hands with the chip lead.
Joe played like a pro the whole final table. The cards just didn't agree with him tonight. Let's hear what he has to say.
I thought my play was good. I mean, the blinds were pretty big for the most part. I was short stack for a while. I mean,
there's not much room when you're short. It just comes down to math and what hand should be shipping, because you can't really raise full a lot of your chips off. I've done it like once or twice, but I did it in spots where I thought there was like no possible way I could even be flipping or, you know, somewhat ahead. So I mean, I thought I played well. I chipped up real nice, got up to 4 million and just ran in a cooler. And it's poker.
Another elimination here at our HPT final table. We're going to step aside for a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we will resume play here from the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Thanks for coming back to the beautiful Soaring Eagle Casino Resort. With Maria Ho, I am Fred Bevel. Over $155,000 is waiting for one of these players. Let's check the updated chip count and get right back to the action.
And now we have a new chip leader with the elimination of Joe Catta in 4th place. Patrick Steele takes over the top spot. He has over 6 million. Penelope in 2nd. Tom right behind her in 3rd. They all have plenty of chips to play with, so we'll see how that affects the upcoming action.
Blinds are going up. They're now 60 and 120,000 with a 15,000 chip ante. Action continues three-handed. Our champion tonight will win over 155,000. Tom Medina held the chip lead most of this final table. Now that belongs to Patrick Steele. Patrick is going to open here to 260,000 with the flat tire, Jack 4. Penelope is going to complete the raise with, oh, I don't know what with. This is the mystery hand. Maria Ho, put on your speculating glasses and tell us what Penelope might be holding as the flop comes 7, Queen, 4, Rainbow.
And Pat checks it over to Penelope, who also checks behind. So I'm going to guess that she doesn't have anything close to a piece of that flop. She doesn't even have a semi-bluff. She has no gut shot, straight draws, no nothing, because we saw that she was willing to bet earlier with her gut shot. So I feel like she must have air right now.
Well, she does call Patrick's bet of 325,000 when the Queen of Hearts came on the turn.
So now I'm thinking Penelope might have something like ace high or king high, because I don't see her checking back a queen on the flop, and I don't see her checking back a 7 on the flop. So it looks like if she checks behind here, I think she has showdown value with some kind of high card.
The river delivers a 3 of clubs. Patrick quickly checks. And look at this. Penelope isn't going to go for the showdown here. She's going to bet $500,000.
Now that Penelope has bet on the river, I don't see many bluffs in her range, as I don't see her checking back the flop, then calling a turn bet, only to bet the river. She could have a 7. I think it's very, very unlikely she has a queen, but you know, she's shown a penchant for slow playing, so you never know.
Patrick does make the call. Let's see how you were, Maria.
Pat's going to flip over Jack of spades.
She was bluffing. Maria, does that surprise you?
Yeah, a little bit. I see that she turned a backdoor flush draw there, and that's why she was betting. But I don't know if I love the bet on the river, because if Patrick didn't have anything, he probably would have bet both the turn and the river. And the fact that he checked the river to her shows that he has some kind of showdown value for his hand, so he was probably going to call her bet.
Well, one thing Penelope did is show that she is capable of bluffing. I knew that already, but maybe some of these players didn't. Patrick is going to open with 8-6. Penelope is going to go all in with ace-8.
Make a count, please.
And Tom is going to get an inventory here. He's thinking of playing this hand with pocket 6s.
And so far, this has all been very standard. Patrick opened from the button. Penelope is right to shove with ace-8. And now it's just up to Tom if he wants to make the call or not with 6s.
Well, I think Patrick is done with this hand either way. I don't think Patrick is going to call an all-in with 8-6.
I call.
And especially after Tom calls. So here we go. Heads up. Tom Medina, the former chip leader, against Penelope Banhitti. She's already done better than her last final table, where she took 5th in St. Louis. But she is definitely going to want to win this hand and continue her quest to be a champion. The flop comes 10-5-9 with a couple of clubs. No help for Penelope.
Penelope's looking for an ace or an 8 to put her in the lead, or running clubs for her to win this hand and double up.
The turn is a 4 of diamonds, so the running clubs is out the window. An ace or an 8 are the only savior cards for Penelope.
Tom's really looking to fade, and he does. Penelope doesn't end up pairing, and she is going to be eliminated in 3rd place.
A great run for Miss Penelope. She is one of my favorites we see on the tour. She played a great game. Let's hear what she has to say.
For some odd reason, I had Joe Catta's number. I just was able to, actually, I had the cards at the right time, and the timing was right, and I was lucky. It was great. And yes, I would have liked to have played him in the end. But playing anybody, you know, heads up would have been a great experience.
Well, we're finally down to heads-up play here in Mount Pleasant, Michigan at the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Who's going to be our new HPT champion? Well, don't go too far. We'll resume HPT final table action right after these words.
Welcome back to Mount Pleasant, Michigan at the Soaring Eagle Casino Resort. She is Maria Ho, I am Fred Bevel, and we have some very intense action going on at this final table. Let's take a look at the updated chip counts and get right back to the action.
We are heads up, and the chip counts are fairly close. Tom is slightly the chip leader with just under 7.5 million. Patrick has 6.3 million. They both have plenty of big blinds to play with, as you can see, and this should be an interesting heads-up battle, as I've been very impressed with both players' plays thus far.
And what a roller coaster these two guys have been on. They both enjoyed the top of the leaderboard. They've both been stuck on the bottom of the leaderboard. Here they are heads up for the HPT champion and over $155,000 in heads-up action. The button is the small blind. Pre-flop.
And Patrick's going to start things off with a raise to $260,000 with Jack 4 offsuit.
Over to Tom. Just going to call with pocket sixes. That's kind of surprising, Maria.
Yeah, I think Tom is just going to feel it out right now. He doesn't want to get into any huge pots, and I don't think calling with pocket sixes out of position is the worst thing to do in heads-up play.
Flop comes Jack 8-5 rainbow, so Patrick is out flop Tom. And Patrick is not going to slow play it. He is going to fire. Makes it $320,000.
And I think that you're going to see people calling down a lot lighter. So although there are 2 overcards to Tom's pair, he's going to look him up, and he does.
Big pot, first hand heads up, already over $1 million in chips. The turn is another 8, an 8 of diamonds.
And I think that might just get Tom to stick around in this hand more than he needed to, because with the 8 pairing, it doesn't seem likely that Patrick will have an 8, and that really only makes 1 overcard in Tom's mind to his pair now.
Well, Patrick bets $500,000. Tom calls $500,000. On to the river we go.
And the river is a 7 of hearts, and I think if Patrick goes for a third bet here, Tom is really going to need to reevaluate the situation and seriously think about folding.
Well, Patrick is reaching for chips, and he is going to throw him into the middle. $525,000 this time.
It's a fairly small bet. It's only a quarter of the pot, and Tom's going to quickly call. I think that he might have been able to get away from it. I think once Patrick triple barrels there with that kind of board texture, he most likely has Tom beat.
Big pot, first hand heads up. Patrick Steele draws first blood. Blinds continuing on at 60 and 120,000 with a 15,000 chip ante. Patrick Steele on the button again. Also the small blind pre-flop.
He looks down at 8-3 of spades, and I think he's just going to continue with his aggression. He does have the chip lead right now, but he's just going to limp in here with the 8-3 of spades.
Jack 5 is the holding for Tom. He is going to check his option. So an unraised pot heads up as we go to the flop.
And the flop is 9-8-7, 2 diamonds. Patrick hit a bit of that flop with middle pair, but Tom has flopped a double gutter, and I definitely see some chips going into this pot.
Tom checks over to Patrick. Patrick with middle pair is going to bet. Makes it $160,000 to go. And Tom not going anywhere. Quickly makes the call.
And I think there are a lot of turn cards that will not only help Tom by making his hand, but also make it easier to possibly get Patrick off his hand.
The turn card is a king of spades. No help for either player, but possibly a scare card. Tom checks. Action on Patrick now. Patrick is gonna fire $260,000.
And I think it's a little bit suspicious when somebody bets more on the flop than they do on the turn. Bet sizing is very, very telling, especially if you're picking up on it. And I think that it seems a little bit weak, and Tom does sense that by check raising here.
Well, Patrick does have the best hand. But he's been faced with a check raise here when a king comes on the turn, but that doesn't seem to scare him. Patrick's going to make the call.
I really like Tom's line here. I just wish his sizing was a little bit bigger because I think Patrick would have had an easier time folding had it been a little bit more for him to call.
The river brings a king of hearts, so Tom misses his draws. Patrick has the best hand unless Tom can push him off here. And that's what he's going to try to do. Bets 1.5 million.
That's more like it. I like this size. It's almost a pot-sized bet. I think Patrick's going to have a tough time calling. I know the running kings don't really affect his hand, but ooh, he does make the call with second pair. He looks him up. That's a great call, but I really like Tom's line every step of the way.
Tom played it great. Patrick made great calls. We're seeing some great poker being played here as Patrick is 2 for 2 here, heads up, and both have been very, very meaty pots. For most of us, when we learn the game of poker, one of the first names we learn is Doyle Brunson. Well, we thought it'd be fun to bring the legend onto the show and have him tell his stories of his life from his point of view and how the game shaped it. Here is Doyle Brunson with A Poker Life, presented by Ace Play Poker.
Grew up in a town where there was, there wasn't any facilities for sports, really. There was only 5 of us in my class, and we had some kind of sport all day, every day, the three guys. And it looked like we didn't know that we were poor, but we were very poor. As we got older, we said, well, the only way we ever going to get out of here is on some kind of athletic scholarship, because our parents probably couldn't have sent us to college and everything. And so we worked toward that goal. And I was fortunate to grow up with these 2 guys that were tremendous athletes. Both of them made all-conference at my university, who we all 3 went to the same university even. Sammy Ball actually called one of my friends the best college end he'd ever seen. And so it was a big part, and I had my life planned out. I was going to go to the NBA. The Lakers had already talked to my coach and said they were going to make me their #1 draft choice. At the end of my junior year. I had a big junior year, and then I busted my leg that summer. I didn't get to compete as a senior. But that was my plan. I was going to come back. I was going to coach and teach after my NBA career was hopefully going to be a long one, because I think I was a little bit ahead of my time. Not like these guys today maybe, but, I had a few pretty good moves that was kind of unique back in those days. And it was it wasn't just important, it was the most important thing in my life.
Over $155,000 going to the newest HPT champion. Every fold, call, and raise has a mountain of pressure on top of it. We'll continue the action right after this. Thanks for coming back to the beautiful Soaring Eagle Casino Resort. With Maria Ho, I am Fred Bevel. Over $155,000 is waiting for one of these players. Let's check the updated chip count and get right back to the action.
This has been a pretty lopsided heads-up battle thus far. As you can see, Patrick has pulled into somewhat of an overwhelming chip lead over Tom. He has 9.7 million to Tom's 4 million. Tom still has 34 big blinds though, so he can still pull this victory out if he really, really wants it.
Well, of course he really wants it. He's just hoping the cards agree with him a little bit.
Very true.
He's playing every street right. Unfortunately, he's just missing the cards when he semi-bluffs or he's getting out-flopped. Patrick also playing a great game. Really impressed with the field here at the Soaring Eagle Casino Resort in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Patrick's going to open to 260 with Queen Jack, and look at this.
Tom has pocket eights here, which is a huge hand heads up. And given the fact that he only has a little over 30 bigs, I would say he should be 3-betting to call it off here if Patrick puts him to the test.
He does indeed 3-bet, makes it $540,000. And Patrick with connected paint, heads up, probably not going to go anywhere for that size of a bet.
And so Patrick is going to call in position here with Queen Jack.
A little over $96,000 going to second place. The champion, one of these 2 gentlemen, over $155,000. Here comes the flop.
Flop is 9 deuce king, 2 diamonds. Tom's going to go ahead and check it over to Patrick, as that is a somewhat scary flop for 8s. And Patrick is going to check behind with his gut shot straight draw.
Do you think Patrick missed an opportunity to take the pot down right there?
I think Patrick is afraid of Tom being tricky, possibly trying to check raise him on the flop. And I think Patrick was just trying to realize his equity by checking back on the flop and hoping to connect on the turn.
And connecting on the turn is exactly what he does. The river comes a deuce of hearts, but that turn was a queen of diamonds, so a flush gets completed. The king is still an overcard.
And I think that's why they both checked on the turn. I think Patrick, although he turned a queen, decided to check back for pot control. And now that Tom's checking to him on the river, Patrick goes for that value bet. Tom calls him, and he's going to see the bad news.
Once again, Tom pays Patrick off on the river. And right now, momentum is all with Patrick Steele. Tom Medina is going to need to get some of that momentum back. He's certainly got the game to do it, but he's running a little low on the chips.
And like I had mentioned earlier, in heads-up play, you're definitely going to have to be willing to make those lighter calls, but I feel like Tom's stubbornness has been a little bit of his downfall here, as he's been calling in some spots where he could fold, and it's been costing him chips.
Patrick is going to open this pot again, this time with ace-7. And jack-9 is the holding for Tom Medina.
He's getting a little bit shorter, and now I think he's thinking about shoving all in possibly, because he doesn't really have the stack size where he could play post-flop as much anymore.
Decision as Tom weighs his options. He is going to go all in.
And I think he's just hoping that Patrick's going to fold and he could pick up what's in the middle, but Patrick's going to call here as he has ace-7. It's a very standard calling hand, heads up. And Tom's going to need to get a little bit lucky and connect with the board if he wants to stick around.
And I think Tom's tweeting, I'm all in and I'm behind. But he does have live cards. We are flipping a coin for the championship here at Soaring Eagle Casino Resort.
Clubs, 9 of spades.
Here comes the flop.
The flop is 8-8 king. No help to Tom. Patrick is still in the lead with ace high.
Any paint. 4 sides or any paint. Ace is bad.
Here comes the turn. It is a 7. That does pair Patrick.
That definitely gives Tom a few more outs, as now a jack, a 9, or a 10 will actually win him this hand.
Tom hoping to stay alive and make a comeback. Patrick hoping this is the final card of the tournament that makes him the champion. Here comes the river.
And the river's a queen, and Tom is going to be eliminated in second place, making Patrick our champion.
What a match, what a table. All of these players played an amazing game at this final table, including Tom Medina, but the hour belongs to Patrick Steele.
I'm now joined with Tom. He finishes second, and for his efforts, just over $96,000. I've got to ask you, Tom, how do you think you played at this final table?
I thought I played pretty great. I made a bad play against Pat when we were four-handed, and a bad call against Kata with 2-8s. But other than that, I ran kind of bad heads up, but I'm still pretty happy with how I played.
Now, you and Pat have some history together because you've been at a final table, and you beat him last time.
Yeah, at another tournament, we were at a final table. I ended up taking first. He took fourth. So it's pretty cool that he actually won this one. So other than anybody else.
Well, here on the HPT, we don't give condolences for second place. We reward you with just over $96,000 in cash. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, we'll send it back to you, Maria and Fred.
Thank you, James Larson, and congratulations again to Tom Medina for his fine run. Tom held the chip lead most of this final table, but in the end, the day belongs to Patrick Steele. He is standing by with James Larson on the floor for his championship interview. Let's hear from our newest HPT champion.
Thanks, guys. We're now joined with our new HPT champion. Give it up for Patrick Steele. All right, Pat. Well, what a final table it was. You're standing here with the cash. How are you feeling right now?
The best I could ever feel, playing against Tommy. We've been playing together a long time. Even though he's younger than me, he's taught me a lot in this game. So I'd like to give it up to Tommy, and had a great time.
Now, you came into this final table as one of the short stacks, and you grinded it back, and now you're here with the cash doing this interview. I mean, it's just awesome.
I took some big blows early, played bad, basically played bad. It wasn't the cards, but once I got by that, got comfortable with the table, and got a nice run of cards. Joe Kata, when I seen a deuce in the window, that was a pretty card. So it was a lot of fun.
All right, one last question for you. What are your plans for the cash? What do you do now?
Have fun with the family. A lot of sports. Yeah, we can give you a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit.
All right, give him a round of applause again. He's our new HPT champion, going home with almost $156,000 in cash. Maria and Fred, we'll send it back to you.
You can see the excitement on the man's face. He not only has a little over $155,000, but Maria, he can say he took down an amazingly talented final table. You know what that's like. It's got to feel good.
There wasn't a whole lot of household names going into this final table, but I gotta tell you, I saw some world-class play coming from every single player. And I think that when it got shorthanded, every player was looking for a good spot, and Patrick Steele just happened to find a lot of good spots. He was patient and he waited for his time to strike, and when he did, it worked out.
Well, I know I learned a thing or two watching these players play this final table. Hope you did as well, and hope you had fun watching as much as we did. Congratulations again to Patrick Steele and everybody that made this talented final table. Next time on the HPT, we'll start with a fresh 9 and look for our next HPT champion. Do you think you have what it takes to sit down and play under the bright lights and the global audience of the HPT? Well, log on to hptpoker.com. Find an event near you. For Maria Ho and James Larson, I'm Fred Bevel. We'll see you at the final table.